Hey guys, my name is Julia and I'm the creator of that channel. Today we will discuss the story you sent me. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel, like the video and leave a comment down below. So let's start it.
Cheating wife was shocked when I knocked on the window because she didn't expect to see me with a camera when she was with her AP in my bedroom. I guess I'll go ahead and just start with the story of my marriage experience that lasted a year, 2020 to 2021. I apologize in advance if anything is lacking coherency or if anything seems a bit ambiguous. 2020 was a hard year for many, and I just somehow managed to fall into yet another extra pitfall of 2020. My very quick marriage to the person I trusted the most. January 1st, 2020, I got a text from my old acquaintance from freshman year in college, whom I hadn't seen in years. "Hey, I miss you." And if I could change one thing about 2020, it would be my entertainment of her texts and leading her into my life that I worked so hard to build. I kind of had a crush on her in college, but I never really saw us getting into anything serious. She has been in a lot of unsuccessful relationships and seems to be the kind of person you'd think really doesn't want anything serious to do with anybody. I know. Big mistake. I have been working full-time for 2 years after university, and I was raised on premises such as structure, hard work and reward, emotion, seriousness, commitment, etc. I do, however, have my flaws too, since no one's perfect. Anyway, back to the story. Over the next couple months, we would text non-stop, and she would come over for about every other weekend, taking a 4-hour drive just to be with me. We were so happy, and she was really pushing me into proposing and getting married as soon as possible. When that didn't yield anything, in the beginning she brought the idea of a promise ring. And I think her persistence and me not experiencing such deep emotions ever before, and falling in love, led us to May 1st, 2020, when I proposed, and we went the following day to court to get married. We were so happy, and she swore to change her bad habits, which I thought I got down pretty good. Come later to find out there's a whole other level to these. An example of the bad habits was smoking, which she convinced me at the time that she quit. We get on a rental lease about the same time and move into a house in the same city I lived in. We were so happy and excited that we were out here building the life that we want. And we seemed to agree on the big things, like kids and families and stuff like that. After only about a month of living together, before May ends, I was lying on the bed working from home one day when I noticed her phone, right next to me, light up with Snapchat and Twitter notifications. Now, I had previously learned her passcode, as she told it to me once, and it's so easy I never forgot. I entered it and peeked at the notifications, and I was shocked at what I saw. My whole body started shaking as we're still cuddled up, and she's asleep. And here I am finding out that what she told me she does for a living was a complete lie in the crap. I saw the posts on Twitter and Snapchat and X sites and online X sites and figured it all out pretty quick. My wife that I just married has been streaming online for the past 3 years or so. I wasn't sure how to react as my body froze in bed. My shaking body eventually triggered her to wake up. And as soon as she did, she noticed how pale my face was and lack of eye contact, and asked, "What's wrong?" I said nothing. Again, "What's wrong, babe? Are you okay?" I asked, "What do you do for a living?" as I slowly turned her phone towards her with the very detailed posts of hers advertising her body on Twitter, and her reply was shocking and absolutely ridiculous. "How do you think I made all that money very fast and staying up all night?" Yup, she's very quick to lay her problems and lying on others very rapidly. I know some people are okay with streaming online, and whatever. I just want to mention that it was very clear that this is something that will break our relationship forever. The following moments were moments of her crying on bed and trying to hug and kiss me and tell me she's sorry and won't ever do it again, and she would quit and do anything for me and to make me happy, and that it's a soul-destroying job and so on. Yup, my dumb A didn't see anything short of forgiving her, and we carried on with working and building our marriage. And like they say, when trust's broken, everything is pretty much broken. I would start the habit of checking her phone every now and then, and I caught her secretly streaming online and texting clients and friends with benefits, like her psychiatrist, for example. And off we go. Dumb A again, forgiving again. I don't recall how many times I forgave her for lying and not sticking to such an important promise to me in such a sensitive moment, but it must have been 2 to 3 times after May. Eventually, we started seeing a marriage counselor for a few months, and unsurprisingly, it was the most assignments for her to work on her issues, of how she needs to feel desired, loved by men, etc. And let me just say that we had the greatest bed life, the greatest emotional journey together, during the good moments, of course. Our marriage seemed to be showing good signs of repair over the next few times going to the therapist. But eventually, all broke loose. I lost it. December 1st. She starts texting her psychiatrist again and exchanging explicit photos and vacation plans for prescriptions and cash. I did forget to mention that I have a very long history of all these conversations in the form of text screenshots. I remember that day. I couldn't sleep, but pretended to. We were in the same bed, and when the sun came out, I couldn't hold in the feelings of hurt any longer. I went to my computer while she was still asleep and printed the divorce forms, filled them out rather fairly, considering what she's done, and woke her up with the simple, "I need you to sign this." She was so confused, so I had to elaborate and tell her, "These are divorce papers. You don't deserve someone like me. I had enough lies. I can't trust you ever again, even if I wanted to. Save us both the head and heartaches, and sign this." She starts crying and goes into a breakdown. I got no signature that day, unfortunately. Her mom drove down, worried after what happened, and I didn't exactly tell her what's been going on, but kept it as a simple, "Our trust is broken, and I can't trust her anymore. This is for the better." After a week of back and forth talk between us, she finally agreed to sign it, wanting us to stay friends. Remember my dumb A? Yes, I said yes. Let's stay friends. And open to her another smaller part of my heart as a friend who cares about her still and provides some of her needs, since her online streaming income is no longer present. One of our main agreements as friends, who live together for the remainder of the lease, was to not have anybody over, guys in her case and women in my case. We had our separate bedrooms and tried to focus on our lives. It only took 2 weeks, December 16th, and I wake up randomly at 1 a.m., and I see a text from her saying she has a friend over. I text her my disappointment since it's clearly a guy in there, and I felt so disrespected. No answer. I get my phone and go into the backyard and get a good video of what's going on in the bedroom. Had I waited 10 more seconds, they would have been all in each other deep. I knocked on the glass creepily as I'm filming her absolute lies and deceptiveness, and the guy starts to leave. This was probably the first time I yell at her throughout the entire year of marriage and call her garbage and disgusting and so on. We come to a resolution after the fighting that she would take over the lease till it ends in May 2021 and would be responsible for the entire rent amount. I started apartment searching and ended up with a move-in date of just this week, January 9th, 2021. Keep in mind 2 things. The first is that in order to take my name off the lease, I had to pay the remaining half of the rent for the next months, and we agreed she would pay me those back on a payment plan since she doesn't really have a steady job, and she went back to streaming online now. The agreement was handed yesterday to her and is yet to be signed. The second thing is that I have all my property off the house that we lived in, except for my washer and dryer, that I agreed to leave with her as a little help till the end of January 2021. Trying to decide if I should stick to that agreement now, since she almost made a fuss out of everything and wouldn't let go of anything easy. Anyways, that same night, I finalized my move out. 10 minutes later, and with a 20-minute notice, she brings another guy over to move some furniture around. A guy she met on Bumble, whom she keeps stressing how successful and rich he is. I find myself spending the night in a motel nearby my new place since the electricity is out. I don't want to reach out to her since I feel like just cutting her off completely from my new life, 100%. I started watching cheating wives videos on YouTube, and the Reddit storytelling ones brought me here to share my story with you about my infidel ex-wife. My ex-wife deceived me and manipulated me. I was the dumb nice guy who worked overtime, trying to find stability on our shaky grounds, and yet I don't get support from her. Instead, all I get is hurt and disrespect, even on good terms. I'm glad we had no wedding, and I feel sorry for any single soul she decides to manipulate in the future. Yes, she's very good at it, and I'm a dumb A. But overall, I'm glad it only took me less than a year to find out who she really is and what she really wants to change about herself. No kids, all financial support, except for some furniture she got, was from my income and hard work. And I can let go of this person forever now, even if she comes back on her knees with another, "Hey, I miss you." I learned a lot. If you made it this far, you're all awesome and great listeners to a not-so-great writer. I hope I get better at it and provide more updates with time. But for me, all I wanted was to vent and air out some steam, because for her, it's so easy to find a guy and sleep with. But for me, I'm still in shock and questioning who the heck did I marry? LOL.
And our last story.
I went numb when I found out the shocking truth of my fiancé. Honestly, I, 26 male, didn't know this woman that well when we first met through a dating site. She was 35, and according to her profile was single. Never told me she was married. We went out on a few dates for 4 months, until she told me she wasn't interested anymore. I later found out it was because her husband was getting suspicious, and she needed to cut her losses. But a few months after, she contacted me again and told me she was pregnant. It hadn't been that long since we slept together, and she confessed everything. Her husband still didn't know yet, because she wanted to find out who the father was first. We did the prenatal paternity test and confirmed her baby was also mine. She had to tell him after that, and it was a crap show. He wanted to speak to me and called me like crazy. She got him to leave me alone after telling him I never knew about her being married. We were both lied to by her. They're apparently trying to work things out, but here's the thing. Her husband wants me completely out of the picture and is willing to adopt my baby if I terminate my parental rights. He doesn't want me in their lives at all, and this is his only condition, or he's divorcing her and taking their 2 kids. I don't know if he can actually do that, but she's begging me to do this or it'll completely break their family. Neither of them are considering that this is my child too, and I want to be in my child's life. I said I would not, and it's causing all these problems. She's called several times telling me how badly this is hurting her family, and her kids are hurt and confused because her husband's temporarily moved out until this condition is met. She feels guilty for doing this to them, but says she wants to fix her mistakes and make their marriage work if I could just do this. Plus, to her, it's a sweet deal for me since I won't ever have to raise this baby or be responsible financially. I don't see it in that way. I want to be a dad to my son. But it feels like what I want is hurting everyone else, like her kids. My close friends, who know all this and get I want to do the right thing by my kid, feel that I should walk away from this messy situation, as it'll always be a part of my life if I choose to be involved. And it's possible if her husband is willing to adopt my son after birth, he'll have a good life. Nobody else in my life thinks me being in my son's life is a good idea, and I don't know if it really is such a bad thing. Update. And by a lot, I mean, I finally became a dad. My son is healthy and beautiful. Most beautiful baby I've ever seen. One of the best things to ever happen to me, honestly, despite the drama. Thank you everyone who was helpful and encouraging in this situation. It felt good to know, even with what everyone else was saying, I had a right to say no to my ex's demands, and I'm not the one at fault for what happened. Several of you had suggested I talk to her about switching it around so that I could ask about getting full custody, instead of being cut out if her husband had such a problem with me being around. It was a great idea, and I feel pretty stupid for not thinking about it myself. So here's what happened. I decided to try again and contact her husband, because throughout this whole time, he was refusing to speak to me. But I just wanted to see if I could get through to him as a last resort. He agreed for us to talk, and I was shocked to find out he'd actually changed his mind about accepting the baby 2 months ago, before I made the post. Originally, he did have that condition that he'd only take her back and adopt my son if I wasn't in the picture, but he decided he didn't want to raise another man's baby. So she lied to me about him still having this condition, and this was just her attempt to try and fix everything, even though he was planning on going through with the divorce. He was pretty mad about what she was doing too, so he was kind of on my side about it. Did get a lawyer involved, and had another talk with her as well after he spoke to her, pretty much saying he'd never take her back, no matter what she did at this point. That got her to see trying to keep me out wasn't going to do anything. I brought up the full custody thing to see if that was something she wanted, and she agreed. To her, there was no point in having my son full-time with this whole divorce going on, and she doesn't even have her own place. He moved back into their house with the kids, and she ended up leaving. Going through with my attorney, I was able to establish paternity after my son was born so that I'd be legally recognized as his father instead of her soon-to-be ex. As of right now, he's with me full-time, but she still comes by to visit. Her life is a total mess right now with the divorce, and she's still pretty bitter toward me about it. It's not perfect, but I'm just so happy having my son in my life. Holding him for the first time, it made all the struggles worth it. It's definitely overwhelming doing it mostly on my own, but I don't regret how things played out.
Thanks guys for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!